Alrighty. Hi, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to Blue Triangle's product training session today. As you can see, we'll be covering the Blue Triangle scoring module. So in the Blue Triangle portal, we have a page called the Digital Experience Overview, or the DEO, and that is probably many of your default landing pages when you log in. And on this page, at the very top, we have the Blue Triangle scores. You may have seen these before, and we'll be taking the next maybe 25 minutes or so and walking through how to use and interpret the scores, including how the scores are calculated and what customizations can be made to best suit the needs of your account. So to kind of introduce who is speaking to you today from Blue Triangle, I'm your host. My name is Mark, and I'm the support manager here at Blue Triangle. And joining me today, and who's really going to be leading the session, is Jay Sadie, who is our VP of Data and Analytics. So Jay led the engineering effort behind the Blue Triangle scores. So we're happy to have him on so you can get the best possible training and to answer any questions you might have about the scoring module. So Jay, we really appreciate your time. And I'm going to stop sharing now and blow up your screen and let you take it away here. So, all right.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm going to just jump right in because we've got limited time. I'm trying to get through as much as possible. So the scoring module is up front. It's probably the first thing you see when you log into our site. If you take into the DEO or Digital Experience Overview screen, and you can see these 5 cards at the very top ribbon of your landing page. And if you do want to hide that, so I'm just going to start showing. If you want to hide that, for instance, you can go to the right-hand side and just click on that arrow, and now it won't show. You can still see it says Blue Triangle scores by hour, but it's now hidden, and you can traverse the rest of that page. But I would suggest always having that open because it gives you a lot of information. It literally monitors all the modules in our site. So as you can see, from real user through to marketing. So I'm just going to talk about the cards themselves. So each card creates a score for that module. So on the real user monitor is currently saying that our score for this hour is 77. Okay, so we'll talk about how we calculate the scores, but according to looking at all the data that we've collected for Demo E-commerce Global, that's the site we're looking at right now, your score is 77. So next to the score, there's a little arrow that points down, and it says 2, and it's red, which means it dropped down. What that means is if you look at the last 2 bars on that chart, you'll see that the bar before that had 79 score, and the next bar had 77. So you dropped by 2. So that's just showing that your trend currently is down between the last 2 measurements. On the left-hand side of each of these cards, you'll see there's an average of 77. All that does, it takes all the bars that you currently see on the screen and averages it out to give you an average score. In the very middle of between those 2 scores, the actual score and the average score, you'll see there's a little bit of information, and it says 2 warnings. What that means is there are 2 warnings for real user right now. Okay, if there was nothing, it would have been, that area would be blank. You could also have alerts. So if you had alerts above the warnings, it would say 5 alerts and 2 warnings. The color of the scorecard reflects the highest level of warning or alert. So if you had warnings and alerts, then the entire card would be outlined in red. Here you can see an example under synthetic. You'll see there it says 5 alerts, so the card is red. If you also had 3 warnings, the card would still show red because it picks the highest level. If it is green, a green bar it means there are no alerts and no warnings. So it's the old-fashioned red, green, yellow. So red's bad, yellow is, you may want to look at it. Green means everything's good. So that's the outline of the card. So don't confuse the outline of the card with the color of the bars, okay? The color of the bars reflect that specific bar. Is that in red, or is it yellow, or is it green? That is determined. You see the legend at the top. It says from 0 to 57, it's red. From 58 to 84, it's yellow. And 85 to 100, it's green. So any of these green bars that you see here, if you look at the measurement, you'll see that score is 93, which is in green. The yellow is 78, which is in that yellow range. So while we're looking at that, I'm going to show you how you can customize that. So this is the default that comes out of the system, all right, these scores. But let's say you want to lower the green to 80, and you reckon that 80 is a good score and you want that to be green. You can go and click on the little gear icon, and it says score thresholds. It's the very top. So if you click on the score thresholds, this is where you actually set those. So you'll see here right now it's 0 to 57, 85. So let's say you wanted to make that 80. You just drag that to 80. And now it's actually from 80 to 100 will show you in green. If you want to lower the red threshold, same thing. You just lower that all the way down. And then that will adjust it. So let's just do an exercise. I'll just drop that down to, let's say, 25. It'll only show red if it's that. And then let's drop this just down just to demonstrate to 60. So now if you save, you will notice that the scores totally change. So even if you add a low score, it's going to still show green. So this one says 49 right now. So if we further lower that, let's just lower that. I mean, you wouldn't do it like that, but it's just for demonstration purposes. So if you drop it all the way down here and you save, now these bars, when it refreshes, will actually be in green because it's set from 41 onto that. I'm just going to hit the refresh here. When the page refreshes, it will apply those, and you can set the frequency of the page that refreshes. And that is now changed to 75. Okay. So that now it's all green. Okay. Because it's from 41 to 100. So you see how you can monitor, but you obviously don't want to put low scores like that because then it always looks green, and that's not the purpose of what we're trying to achieve. If you go back to this, I'm just waiting for the page to refresh. You'll notice there are 3 levels here. So the BTT global thresholds is what's currently in use. You can also go for an account and say, for this account, I want to set the scores, or I can set my thresholds for a site. So it gives you ultimate flexibility. If you're, like we say, we have our current or BTT global thresholds, which are controlled by us. Then the accounts can actually, if you're an account manager, you can say, no, I want to change it, and I can change it for myself, or I can go just for one site. So maybe if I have 10 sites for my account, I can set a setting for all my accounts. And then if there's one site that I want to have a different setting for, I can just go change the site settings for that one specific site. Okay, so that's really, really simple. I'm just going to set these back to more reasonable values. And you'll see these at the bottom will automatically adjust because they are currently all inheriting, because we didn't set them specifically for that global. If you set it for an account, you'll see those won't actually readjust and realign because you've chosen to override it. So what this is saying is that you actually have the exact same settings for both accounts, and all your sites will inherit from the upper level. So inheritance is something you'll see throughout our site in many other areas, where you can where we have the blue triangle values, and then you can go override them for the account, and then you can override for a site. and that's typically the inheritance levels. Okay, so that's one way you can change that. Now, let's say you don't want to see the business card, all right? You can also go or maybe you want to show business at the very beginning, and you don't want a real user to be your first card. Then you go to visualization controls. I clicked on the wrong one there. The visualization controls control what your cards look like on the screen. It's just loading right now. All right, so here you can see real user was the first card. If you don't want to, let's say you don't want to see synthetic, or let's say you don't want to see business, if you click on that value there, it's now not going to show that card on the screen, okay? Or if you want to take this card and move it to the first position, it will actually put business right at the front. So that's how you can organize the order of the cards. I'm not going to save this now, but it will just move them around or hide them. So maybe you only want to see 3 of the cards, but you must look at it. You must have at least one card that you look at. Okay, so that's how you control the sequence of the cards. So now let's go in a little bit deeper into each card. You'll see a show detail below each card. Any questions?
Yeah, maybe before we get into that, there was a question about like the buckets of each bar. Like in this example is, so each bar within each card, for example, in real user, it went from 79 to 77, dropping to, is that the previous hour?
That's correct. So this is, if you go to the very right of the bar, if you look there, you'll see the current hour is 1300 EDT. And the one before that is the 1200 EDT hour. So next to the Blue Triangle scores, you'll see there by hour. Now, what drives that? The period of time that you're currently looking at drives what you're going to see. So if you look at 24 hours, you are going to see 24 bars here, right? If you do go to 1 hour, and let's do that. Let's go and look at the last hour. So obviously now we're not going to show things in hours because we don't want to see a chart with just 1 bar on it. So then we drop down to minutes. Okay, so you'll see next to it, it'll now say by minute. Also, if you're going to look at something over 7 days, you don't want to look by hour because you're going to have too many bars across. So if you look at 7 days, for instance, it's going to say there by days. And then you'll see 7 days, you'll see 7 bars, and 30 days, you're going to see 30 bars and so forth. So that, depending on the time frame you're looking on, it will determine the granularity of that chart. So if you look at the last 2 bars, you'll see this one was for the 1407, and the minute before that was 1406. So it's giving you, so if you go by hour, you're actually getting tremendous feedback on your site because it'll show you every minute what is the score for that minute. And then you can actually monitor changes that happen very frequently. If you do it by hour, it's not as pronounced if a change occurs, but the by minute one will show you very detailed minute by minute changes on your site. If you look at this, the synthetic, you'd see a lot of bars, but all that means, if you see those blank spaces, is no data came in for that minute. This is obviously synthetic, so sometimes for 3 or 4 minutes, there are no synthetic data coming in. Or tag governance, but on real user, you should, if your site is very busy, you should have a chart for every, or a bar for every minute. Does that answer that?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, good. So let's go look at the detail. So if you click on that show detail, what it's going to do now, there are multiple metrics that are used to make up your scores. And here you can see we have front-end metrics, and we've got back-end metrics that make up the scores. So we obviously just don't take like a total of your site and work it. So every score is made up of a combination of metrics. So as, for instance, TTI, onload, LCP, etc., number of elements on page, base page time, and they all contribute towards your overall score for this one you're looking at. So we're looking at real user. These are the metrics that participate in the score for real user. And then we take the averages of each of these specific metrics. So what's interesting is you can set the weight. So if I want TTI to carry more weight towards my score, currently we've set the weight over there to 3, and these others are all equal, 7.1, 7.1. So very easily it's just saying how much does this have to count to the score. Certain metrics you may want to use a very low rating, and others you may want to add a much higher weight. So that's how you control it. So when you delve in here, you can see, for instance, CLS, it's all red. But because we have so many greens in here, and because TTI is all green, it picks up the average score, and it'll actually give you a good total score or average score for real user. But the nice thing about this is typical drill down. So you can go in here and identify the areas that you potentially may have problems. Now I see 2 here. It's the CLS and the FID. These are the 2 I want to give attention to. The others are all green, so I don't really need to go in there. I know I'm looking pretty good there. Look at my scores: 100, 92, 99, 100. So I can go look at it if I'm interested. But if we're troubleshooting, we want to look at the reds. Let me just look quickly onto the right of this. So there's 3 measurements on each of these metrics. Okay, the first is the measured value, is in the purple line. That's what we measured. The blue is the number of page views, or let's call it the number of entries that participated in calculating that score, or page views. And then the bars are the actual scores. Okay, so each score will be represented by a bar. So that's 3 metrics per, or 3 measurements per metric. On the right-hand score, you'll see the blue triangle score is what was the previous one, so 77. The current value is 63, so we dropped by 14 points. The actual measured values, 75 milliseconds, the previous, the current, and the up and down, and then here are the number of values that we added up to calculate the average. So you can see there's an immense amount of information on the screen that can help you get more insights into your different metrics. But if that is not enough, you can actually draw another level deep. So this is our top level, and then our medium level. And now let's say these red ones, I want to know more about that. I can click on CLS. And now it opens yet another, or the very lowest level that we can go to. And it has different groups that you can look at. But remember, we're only looking at CLS right now. We're looking at the traffic segments. So which of the traffic segments are causing it to be so bad? Which of the current groups or page groups are so bad? So you can see the power of this. This one only has 1 group, but if there were multiple, it will break it down for you. So again, for drilling down, and what's nice is it can actually show you also a distribution. What I like about country is if I go by country, I can see all my countries here that I'm collecting data on. So you can see the score module can actually be used for a lot of insights into your overall site. Because remember, everything here brings all the pieces of our system together, and then we calculate it. So look at this, is interesting. So in the United States, we had a 275 average for this, and then for CLS data that we collected. The reason it's so low is because not every view will have CLS. So of all the views where we actually got CLS data, so they were 275. And then our next level is Canada, and we can then see we get like 2 from Ecuador, from the United Kingdom, etc., etc. You can also look at AB segments and data centers, browsers, devices. So you can see the power of this. I mean, we can spend just an hour just talking about this. So I just want to whet your appetite for that. But please go and explore that and look at it, and you'll see all the insights you get. Okay, so those were the 3 different levels on our scorecards. I just want to quickly go in to show you how we calculate the scores, okay? you will not see these two on your menu when you open it. It's BTT metrics and BTT rules. These are defined by us internally, and then we use that to calculate the scores. At the moment, if you do want to change it for your account or your site, you can contact your customer support person or your the manager for your account, and they will be able to go in and modify the metrics that we use to calculate the score. So I'm just going to show you more or less how it works so that you can have an idea of how we can control it. So if we look at real user again, I'm just going to filter on real user. And let's look at TTI because we've looked at that before. So what that allows us to do is to go modify it. So you can see it's for TTI. So we set a lower and an upper value for the range on which we're going to calculate the scores. And then we provide an upper score and a lower score. And then a weight. You remember we saw 3 there, which was 23 point something percent. You can control, that's where we control how much weight you want to add to that specific metric. Certain numbers, if they're low, may be a bad thing. So then we switch these two around. So let's say a low number means bad, then you'll make 0, you'll put this as 0. And if it's good to have a high number, then you put the 100 on this side. You can also limit it and say, I don't want to give less than 10. Then you put the minimum as 10 and the maximum, I don't want to ever give more than 95%. Then you make that 95. So just to give you an idea. So what this is saying that this is milliseconds. So if my TTI is 3000 milliseconds, I deserve to get 100%. So anything between 3000 and 1500 will automatically calculate the scores based on the ratio of where it falls in between this. Okay, so that's just a quick understanding. So you can see it's pretty easy for us to go and modify this on a specific level. So this is the global rule. There's an account rule, and then there's also a site rule. So the site rule overrides everything. If there's a site rule, it will always use that. If not, it looks if there's an account rule. If there's an account rule, it uses that. And if not, then it falls back to the global rule. And that will stay the same. So if you want your score to be calculated differently, it can be adjusted for the whole account or just for a specific site. And I think that pretty much covers all of it. Again, all of this, there's a lot more detail, but I wanted to just give you a high-level view of how the scorecard module works, how it calculates things, and how flexible and adjustable the whole module is.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Jay. So looking at the questions, there was just that one that came in that you answered earlier. So I was thinking, while we have just a couple more minutes here, was wondering if you would like to talk about some of the new features that are coming out related to this module.
Sure. So the first feature I think we're going to put in is to allow people to define alerts. So let's say you want to do an alert and say, if my synthetic card score drops by more than 5 points, I want to get an alert. Okay. But then you also have to specify at what level. If it drops by 5 in 1 minute, that's not really as bad. But if over an hour it drops by 5, that may be bad. But you can go by minutes. So you'll be prompted and say, okay, I want to be alerted on a by minute basis if it drops by 5, or if it goes up by 5, or 10, or whatever number you choose. And then, or you can say, okay, or also alert me by hour, or alert me by day. So you'll be able to choose that. So that's very powerful. So you can also say, if my score goes below a certain point, or my score goes above a certain point, so you'll be able to alert on the difference between the last 2 hours, or just look at the current hour. And I never want to go below 80 and 80%. The minute I drop below 80%, I want you to send me an alert. So that's the alert module that will be configurable by the user. And the account manager will be able to control if he wants them to do alerts, or can everybody do that, or can only site managers do that, or whatever level you want to allow to set up alerts. And then it'll work like our rest of our alert system. Do you want to be notified by email, by SMS, by Slack, whichever one of our methods we provide or support? And then finally, allow you as the customer to set your own thresholds and settings. Because currently only people at BTT, only your customer representatives can configure that for you. But there'll be another configuration screen which will be under your control. So you see at the top, we say Blue Triangle scores. You will be able to see another bar below it that'll say customer scores. So imagine the power of that. You can see how Blue Triangle scores you, and then below that, you can provide your own scores. So you'll see another 5 scorecards below here, and that's how you evaluate yourself. So that is already in the system. It just needs to be enabled, and we have to provide screens for you to do that. And then obviously training, because it's not, it's something that you need to learn on how to do, because you can completely change your scores and by setting those different thresholds. And so those are the 2 big changes coming.
Cool. Yeah, that's exciting. So we're coming up on our time here, so I'm going to go ahead and take it back over and kind of close things out for the day. So we went through a couple of questions. Yeah, Jay, really appreciate your time for this training, and thank you everyone who joined for your time. And if you do have any further questions, we're always happy to chat with you offline. So you're welcome to reach out to us anytime. You can reach us at support, of course, at support@bluetriangle.com. You can also submit a request or a question in our help center at help.bluetriangle.com. That's the question mark icon in the top right of the portal. And for more information about our trainings, like how to watch some of our past sessions or how to register for upcoming ones, be sure to check out the Help Center. Again, I'll point it out, help.bluetriangle.com. And when you're there, just click the big button for product training. All right, guys, thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you all next time. Have a great day.